Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Del Norte County Board of Supervisors meeting this day, December 14th, 2021. And it is a holiday season for us. And I'm happy we're here in December all together. It's been a wonderful year so far. And it is our 10 o'clock hour and we've returned from closed session. Joel, is there anything to report out of closed session today?
Not today, no.
Okay, then at this time, I'd like us to take roll. Kylie, can you do that for us, please?
Supervisor Hemmingson,
I am here.
Supervisor Starkey. Here. Supervisor Short,
Here.
Supervisor Berkowitz.
Yeah.
Chair Howard.
Here. All right, please join me in a brief moment of reflection. Thank you. Right. At this time, is there any introduction to new employees?
Yes, Chair, we have the Director of Building Maintenance and Parks here to introduce a new employee.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, thanks for having us. I'd like to introduce you to William Davis. He is which originally came out of Hoopaw, come over to Crescent City. He's a new employee to the county. However, he has been working for the Workforce Center for us for the last 6 months. It's a great training opportunity through there. We're able to get him some experience, get him going, and if we really like him, we keep him. So this is
Even better.
this is another one. I think he's got a speech, and he said he's got might cry. So
A speech and crying. Wow.
Right on.
Thank you for the opportunity to work for this community. I feel at home and I'm pretty much ready for anything. And yeah, it's been great. So
You bet. Welcome
Great.
aboard.
Welcome. Yeah.
If you don't mind, I could assign you a task really quick of moving that podium back about 2 feet. That would be super helpful. Kind of feeling like Al's hovering over us over here. It's a little unnerving.
is that good?
Perfect. Thank you so much. Very good. All right. At this time, I'd like to request any. Oh, sorry. Shoot. Man, I am just hopping all around today. If you would all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, sir. Okay. At this time, I'd like to request any deletions, corrections, or additions from the board to the agenda. I do have one urgency item, and that would be to add a resolution authorizing staff to breach Lake Earl to the agenda, and that there is a need to take immediate action, and that the need for that action came to the attention of the local agency subsequent to the agenda being posted.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we add this as an urgency item.
And I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Kylie, can you please pull the vote?
Supervisor Starkey.
Yes.
Supervisor Berkowitz.
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson.
Yes.
Supervisor Short.
Yes.
Chair Howard.
Yes. All right. If the board doesn't mind, I'd like to hold off on board reports until the end of the meeting. We have a pretty long agenda today, and there are some items on the agenda I'd like to get to. So let's go ahead and just jump straight on into the consent agenda, which are items 1 through 24 on our consent.
Move for approval.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second.
If I could interrupt you, sorry, this is Heather Snow, Director of Health and Human Services. I have a minor correction to make for consent agenda item number 16.
Okay, go ahead.
We incorrectly stated the amount of the contract in the board report, which was put on the agenda. It's off by $1,000. The amount in the contract itself is correct. And again, that's a difference of $1,000. So the board report and the agenda should state $626,400.
Very good. Thank you, Heather. Appreciate you speaking up on that.
And I'll amend my motion to include that amendment.
And second.
Okay, thank you Supervisor Hemmingson and Supervisor Short. Let's go ahead and open it to public comment on the consent agenda items only. Consent agenda, public comment? Okay, we do have a public comment period coming up here just shortly. Okay, anybody else on the consent? Good morning.
Hi, Robert Dorigo. Just number 5. I didn't really feel that I was congressionally joining the inland counties. You know, I did some research and it looks like we've got a partner in our congressman, you know, with last chance grade. And he's been, well, I know nothing about it. I think you guys do. He's been working with the transportation department, you know, federally for us since I think 2015, working towards that. And I know a lot of people run on last chance grade. I never got it because I know I always kind of knew it was a multi-billion-dollar fix and we have like a 20, 30, 35, 40, I guess it's growing, but $1 million general fund. So I never understood that as like a campaign promise, but to me, and again, I don't know a lot about it, but to me, it just seems an opposite direction, you know. Updating the sheriff's classification. I noticed with item 12, where we're taking federal and state funding, when we talk about financing, I get confused sometimes on agenda items with the financing, because some items are very specific. You know, in this one, it says no federal or just federal and state funding is being used. We want to make very clear we're not spending any of our own money on that. When we get to the update of the sheriff's classifications, I find that classification 3 requires the ability to pass an advanced post in 1 year. We wouldn't hire a lawyer on the ability to go to law school and pay as such. And then in the financing, it just says we have that budgeted. And that, to me, that's not clear, you know, on why are some of these things being more specific than other things. And I wonder if things like that just occur on the consent agenda will in 5, 10, 15 years be impacting our pension liabilities and things like that, and our ability to provide services without further taxation. The CHP proclamation, I just don't get it at all. I mean, I've been helped by the CHP once or twice. I've also tried to flag them down for shoplifters and they seem burdened. But they're partners, I suppose, but as far as different governments, like I compete with different businesses, it's actually a competition thing. 25% of each ticket they issue goes to the CHP versus if our local departments give those tickets, 25% of that ticket goes to their local department. So we're losing money competing with the CHP. And then that's why the wages are going up so high, because every time one pays $5 grand more a year, the next department says, I need another $5 grand. Like the city police department now cost about 100 grand per officer with overtime. They require a high school diploma or equivalent. That's me, I'm the equivalent. I never got through high school, but and then I talked to other departments and they say, well, I don't get paid nothing. I'm losing people to CVS, is what they tell me in different departments around the county. And I tell them, you need to get a pistol. Put a pistol under your desk, your salaries will double. And I don't want to come out, I've been helped by cops. I can remember a couple of names. I've seen people do wonderful things, but I wonder if it's just an emotional thing we're doing and we're not really looking at charts and calculators and things like that as we do it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Linda Sutter, County. Item number 24 on the consent agenda is you're approving for pretrial assessment service program. And I read the documentation that went along with that, and it really didn't explain how that's going to affect our community as far as, you know, safety issues. And if you could please expound upon that, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we do have a motion and a second on the table, but we did have a request for a little expansion on that. I do see Mr. Raymond in the audience. Mr. Raymond, if you don't mind.
Morning, Board. So SB 129 was passed as a budget trailer bill this year, and it included funds from the state to the courts to implement pretrial programs across the state. Generally, what you see with pretrial programs when those are run are assessments of inmates in custody to help the courts make a determination on who to release and who to detain in custody. And so the courts are partnering, contracting with probation departments across the state in those communities where a program can be put together in order to affect this. In Del Norte County, we've been running pretrials since 2018 to help manage jail population and make determinations on release. Those recommendations from my department go to the courts, and the judges make those decisions on who is going to be released. Usually we see for those that actually assess out as appropriate for release and supervision pretrial, we do see generally good results on their return to court, which is one of the primary goals, is make sure we push down the failures to appear, and also the ability to plug those individuals into programs that can continue after a disposition, after they're found guilty, plea guilty, and some kind of disposition comes out from the courts. So that's what this funding is for.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if the board had any further questions. I don't believe so, but just in case. All right, very good. So Kylie, unless there's anybody else on the line.
I do not have any online.
All right, then can you please pull the vote on the consent agenda items?
Supervisor Starkey?
Yes.
Supervisor Berkowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Short?
Yes.
Supervisor Henningsen?
Yes.
Chair Howard?
Yes. All right, at this time, I'd like to go to our proclamation, which is on the agenda, which was a proclamation of the Del Norte County Board of Supervisors in appreciation and gratitude for the support, service, and partnership of the California Highway Patrol. And I see you got a lot of you guys here today. Don't worry to come up just yet. I'll invite you up in just a second. Go ahead and let me read this into the record. Whereas in 1929, the governor of the state of California signed a bill that established the California Highway Patrol with a mission to provide safety, service, and security for all who live, work, and visit California. And whereas in 1964, the Crescent City office of the California Highway Patrol was established in order to patrol the streets and highways of Del Norte County. And in June 2019, the new CHP office opened, providing staff with 20,000 more square feet, 148 feet communication tower, and outside generator capable of running the entire office for up to 3 weeks. Whereas only 2% of applicants are accepted into the 27-week CHP Academy, and the hiring process takes anywhere from 1 to 2 years, and then requires the completion of over 200 hours of training each year, in addition to training requirements for range, weapons, radar, LiDAR, interview and negotiation, officer safety, active shooter, and many other classes. And whereas currently the Crescent City office of the CHP staffs 24 supervisors, officers, and civilian staff for providing service to Del Norte County with a population of approximately 28,000 and an area of 1,200 square miles. And whereas in 2020, during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, the CHP responded to more than 4,726 calls to assist allied agencies, victims, motorists, and community members in need of law enforcement services, and continues to provide the same level of safety, service, and security to citizens of Del Norte County each and every day. Whereas the CHP also instrumental in securing surplus handheld radio equipment to be used by Crescent City police officers and firefighters, which will make a major impact in the public safety by increasing response times, first responder safety, and increased service to Del Norte County community. And whereas the Crescent City CHP officers have received numerous awards and accommodations for their actions, including Officer of the Year and life-saving awards. And whereas the Del Norte County Board of Supervisors extends their appreciations and thanks to Lieutenant Larry Deepy, commanding officers of the Crescent City office, for his leadership, dedication, teamwork, and to all the professionals that put on a badge each and every day and go out selflessly to support the mission of the CHP in making Crescent City and Del Norte County safer community members, and visitors alike. Therefore, the Del Norte County Board of Supervisors hereby recognizes the California Highway Patrol Crescent City Office as an active member of the law enforcement family and supporter of the Del Norte County community. The County of Del Norte also recognizes the outstanding service and support that the CHP staff perform every day, as well as wishing every officer a safe patrol as they protect our highways, passed and adopted this day, December 14th, 2021.
I'd like to thank the board for recognizing our agency for all the work we do at the local level. And I couldn't be more proud of the men and women I work alongside of on a daily basis. Thank you.
Thank you.
Definitely appreciate you being here with us today. I know from all the board, oftentimes our public safety officers go unnoticed, and unless you're getting pulled over, it's oftentimes a negative reaction. And what you guys do is really positive for our community and for our health and safety, as this recognition declares. And from our board to you, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and safety amongst all else this holiday season. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to item 30 on our agenda, which is to introduce an ordinance of the Del Norte County Board of Supervisors, adding section 16.04.42 to the Del Norte County Code related to the correction and modification of a record subdivision map. Item 2 on that same agenda item is set a hearing to adopt the ordinance on January 11th, 2022, and designate county council to prepare a summary of the ordinance for publication at the request of the Community Development Director. Good morning, Ms. Tunstall.
Good morning, everyone. The purpose for this request is to allow our planning commission to consider modifications to recorded parcel maps when conditions of approval that have been placed on those maps may not necessarily apply in current day. We had a recent occasion where something came up where that situation arose, and we learned that because we have no local ordinance, we have no ability to offer a modification. So working with council, we prepared the language that is in your agenda today, and we are hoping that the board allows us to move forward with this to eventually become another tool for us to use when trying to assist the public.
Okay, very good. Any questions for Ms. Tunstall at this time?
Mr. Chair, I'd move to approve.
Okay, we do have a motion. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and open it for public comment. Okay, go ahead and bring it back to the board, and that is a motion and a second to set the hearing to adopt the ordinance on January 11th and to designate county council to prepare the summary for the ordinance. Kylie, please pull the vote.
Supervisor Hemmingson,
Yes.
Supervisor Starkey,
Yes.
Supervisor Berkowitz,
Yes.
Supervisor Short,
Yes.
Chair Howard.
Yes. All right, item 31 on our agenda is introduce an ordinance adding chapter 16 related to providing an expedited streamlined process for electric vehicle charging stations, and chapter 17 related to expedited permitting for small residential rooftop solar energy systems to title 14 of the Del Norte County Code. Set a hearing to adopt the ordinance on January 11th, 2022, and designate county council to prepare a summary of the ordinance for publication as requested by the Community Development Director. Good morning again, Heidi.
Good morning again. The title that was just introduced pretty much explains entirely what it is. And what it is we're trying to, one, comply with state law, which requires us to offer expedited permit review for small solar residential installations and for electric vehicle charging stations. And this will allow us to add additional checklists to our county website, and more opportunities for potential, constituents, folks, to apply for these uses and to receive their permit approvals in an expedited manner.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chair, I'll try and do this better this time. I move we set a hearing to adopt the ordinance and designate the county council to prepare a summary.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and open it for public comment. Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and bring it back to the board. Kylie, can you please pull the vote?
Supervisor Berkowitz,
Yes.
Supervisor Starkey,
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson,
Yes.
Supervisor Short,
Yes.
Chair Howard.
Yes. All right, I believe we could squeeze this in before our timed item at 10:25, which is approve and adopt a resolution to set the tax rates for cannabis, retail, and manufacturing transactions within the range approved by voters in Measure B for calendar year 2022 as requested by the treasurer tax collector. Barbara, you here with us today? Why don't you join us up front here? Let us know a little bit about this.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So this comes to you annually. You have the option to approve the tax rate for retail between 3% and 6%, for manufacturing between 1% and 3%. If you have any questions regarding kind of our last year's income level, where we're at with cannabis, I'm happy to try to answer them for you. Excuse me, I have a cold.
I do have some
Supervisor
questions.
Starkey.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So currently, how many cannabis businesses do we have in the county?
We just have one currently, Sticky Grove.
Okay. And then of those, what's the total revenue the county gets from the taxation?
So for the last 4 quarters, we're right around $60,000 for just Sticky Grove.
Okay. And that's at the tax rate of 6%?
Yes, it
currently?
is.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then have we been taxing at that tax rate of 6% since the inception of this?
Yes.
Okay. So that my next question doesn't matter. Based on this year's number, what if we decreased it to say, let's say 2%? We would probably bring in a revenue of 20,000?
Yeah, at about 2%, 19,900, and that's at, the current level of gross
If
receipts
the
that
revenue,
we've
yeah,
seen.
okay.
Mhm.
And so then where does the revenue of this tax go? What is it used for?
I'm not sure exactly what it's used for. I know it's general fund, so I don't know that it's allocated for a specific purpose, but it is straight general fund dollars.
Okay. Yeah, my only concern, and I'll just go ahead and voice it now, and then we can have the discussion, is that I really am hoping that we can support businesses and small businesses, and this seems to be excessive. Do we tax alcohol establishments?
No,
Okay.
not a direct county tax. No,
Okay.
it's a
And then
state.
with the city has a 0 tax rate for cannabis.
I believe so. They did not adopt a tax rate.
Okay. So I mean, my proposal is going to be that we do something less than that 6% to see if we can't assist a business with being successful here in the
Mhm.
county. So that's just where I'm going to stand on this.
Supervisor Hamilton.
Yeah, Barb, we have no grows, is that right? So we don't.
No, we don't have any official cultivation grows. We have some illegal grows that I've been able to recover a few dollars from. And then we do receive funds from Elk Valley Rancheria for, I think it's 50% of their revenue source. They've been generously giving us that money as well.
Yep. And so we charge 3%?
It's, I don't have my ordinance with me. I think it's $3 per square foot for indoor, 1 for outdoor, I believe. I think it's a static figure. I apologize, I don't
Okay,
have it
yeah,
on
I
me.
think you're right.
County council is nodding his head. So.
Okay,
As I'm
thank you, Joel.
trying to remember back in my fuzzy little brain there. So we have collected some money on some illegal grows, is that correct?
Yeah, a little bit. It's sort of a gray area when there's already been an abatement and then to try to collect that, it's a challenge for sure. But I know that we've been actively abating illegal grows throughout the county with drug task force as well.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Barb.
Mhm.
Let's go ahead and open it up for public comment unless the board has any other additional questions. Okay, let's go ahead and open up public comment. Anything online, Kylie? Okay, very good. This is public comment on the cannabis item. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. You looked a little overdressed for it.
Hello,
Good
I'm
morning.
Robert DeRigo. I'm with Sticky Grove. I do want to bring you a couple of receipts. I sent a spy out to one of the city shops. Paid the tax. Smoked it too. You know, you guys got more this year than I did, you know, and me and my wife put in 80 hours a week. And I thought about it over and over again. You know, I was on the cannabis board. You guys appointed me to a cannabis board. About half of it was made up of cannabis advocates, and about half of it was made up of 3 of the largest landowners in the county. And we weren't able to get to anything perfect. You know, we worked on consensus, you know, and so I didn't want to go out of business. You know, nobody invited me to my banning, but I do watch what happens in the government. And I knew I needed a license from you guys, but you were real slow on doing it. In fact, I just shut down a couple times. I've employed employees before we were regulated. We always, my neighbor, a Vietnam vet, and then I hired another Vietnam vet, and I paid them 25 an hour under the table. It was unregulated. You know, I can't do that anymore. So I responded to the pandemic, and now I'm competing. I've cut my margin. As you can see, I give a 20% discount to online, so that more than covers all their taxes. The 8%, I never even changed the register for the new 1% that the voters voted for. You know, I just pay it, but I didn't change the register because I can't be the most expensive person. I've already been competing with Oregon, who had a settled market. I sent you guys a breakdown to show that, you know, with 80 hours, that me and my wife are only going to clear about 40 grand. You know, with my cost of goods, I can't write off my rent, I can't write off labor, and I can't bring my staff back. I had 3 people that were senior citizens. And I might not bring them back quite yet because I'm a paranoid pandemic person, but I probably can't bring them back when it comes back to doing so, because I never was able to write off their wages anyways. I pay taxes on it and they pay taxes on it. But I changed my mind on reducing the tax because when we made this ordinance, we didn't really want a tax. But honestly, I think Joel said that the board would probably be more likely to adopt something that included a tax in the ordinance. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like somebody's got to get their beak wet, you know? And the community was led to believe that they were voting for pot, but pot was banned by you guys. I had that shut down and everything, remember? So you're kind of holding an ordinance. And public will, which was over about 2/3 for Prop 64, and it was held up until you got some money out of it. And so we said, well, hey, if we're gonna get money, let's make it go to something good on the board, you know? But Joe said, well, wait, that would take 2/3 a vote to say where the money goes. We would now need 2/3 of the voters to vote for it. You know, because we were thinking first 5, we were thinking all kinds of things, you know, like it should go to something good, you know? And so we ended up saying, let's just let it go to the general fund because that only requires 50% plus 1. But I don't think there's any rule against you now dedicating those funds. Is that right, Joel?
You want me to respond?
After, if you could, please. Thanks, Joel. Please.
I don't think there'd be anything wrong with you now saying that these funds are dedicated. And if you would keep it at 6%, I wouldn't mind. If you put it towards either Sunset High School, helping disadvantaged youth there, whether it hires a mentor or sponsors a program. I know they had zip lines that they wanted to do. Or First 5 or one of our school district's music departments. I would be okay with that because it does come out of my family's ass. You know, I'm not able to fix my teeth. I'm not able to have health insurance for myself.
Thank you,
I've
Robert.
never left this country. I've never left this state since I've lived here, other than to go to Dairy Queen and Brookings, and that's kind of common for most of us.
Okay. Thank you, Robert.
And thank you for your time.
Appreciate your input. Kylie, is there any online comment? Okay, anybody else in the audience on this item? Okay, let's bring it back. Joel, there was a comment specific to that.
His specific question, can the board dedicate the revenue to something specific? The answer is yes. But then the board can change its mind again later. It's like any board decision. You can't bind future boards the way the taxpayers or the voters can bind you with a special tax.
Sure. I didn't closely follow the city's discussions associated with the no tax. That kind of seems interesting. Did any of you guys follow what happened there?
I did not.
What, Darren, did you or? If I
Valerie?
could,
Please.
when I spoke with City Manager Weir yesterday as to why they landed there, he said that they wanted to promote business. They didn't want to make it one more barrier for them. So that was the board's kind of thought process on that, was that they didn't want to add one more thing. So that's where at least my indirect reporting from City Manager Weir.
Okay, thanks, Valerie. All right. You know, there's some truth to this, right? I mean, it is a barrier to business, and if we're causing some harm potentially, that is something for us to consider. And I know obviously Valerie's kicking it around. We do have a range at which we could consider and we could experiment with, or we could take another route like our public comment suggested. But we do have a range that was put in place by our voters. And it is something here for us to consider. So I'd be willing to take more discussion if you guys would like, or we could just have a motion on the table and kick it around that way.
I would move that we keep the rate the same.
Okay, very good.
I would second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table.
And then I'd like to make a motion that we reduce the rate to 2%.
Okay, I'd second that motion.
Chair, just to clarify, that was 2%, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
And that was made by Supervisor Starkey, seconded by myself. Okay, any other motions? Bob, you want to kick in on this one? Okay. Okay, go ahead, Joel. Okay. Okay, so
And is
just
that-
for
was
clarity,
that not part of my motion to keep the rates the same? Yeah, well, that's what I meant, that I would keep the rates the same as what they are now.
and Valerie, yours is to actually reduce it for both manufacturing and retail.
Well, the manufacturing, I believe, is 1 to 3%, correct? What is it currently at? Okay, and we have no manufacturers in the county right now. So let's leave that that's not going to impact anybody at this moment. I know that there potentially is a new business going out in the old triplicate building, but that's not up and running just yet. All right, so I would, for clarification, I would ask that the adult use cannabis be 2% and then the manufacturing remain at 3%. Is that clear enough?
That is clear. Okay, without any other motions or seconds or thirds out here, we'll go ahead and take the second motion first. Kylie, can you read that back for clarity for the board?
So the second motion was 2% for retail, correct? And then 3% for manufacturing? And that's the one we're voting on now.
Correct.
Supervisor Short,
No.
Supervisor Berkowitz,
No.
Supervisor Hemmingson,
No.
Supervisor Starkey,
Yes.
Chair Howard.
Yes. Okay, we'll go ahead and take the first motion up. Could you read that into record, please?
And this one is just to keep the cannabis rates the same as the previous year.
Correct.
And Supervisor Berkowitz,
Yes.
Supervisor Starkey,
No.
Supervisor Hemmingson,
Yes.
Supervisor Short,
Yes.
Chair Howard.
No. All right, motion passes. And we'll go ahead and move to agenda item. Okay, yeah, let's take public comment real quick. So it's a little past our 10:25 public comment item. Members of the public may address the board on matters which are within the jurisdiction of the board. If you're addressing the board regarding a matter listed on the agenda, you may be asked to hold your comments until the board takes up that matter. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. I know this is what you've been waiting for, so come on up. And
by the way, that it's difficult to hear, and I've got my aids in, so I know it's not just me.
okay, we'll see what we can do with the technology over here. Welcome.
So I'm here actually to sort of reverse a trend. This board has regularly recognized and commended individuals and organizations within this community for things that they have done above and beyond or that are noteworthy. Today, I'd like to recognize two members of the Board of Supervisors who have done something that we believe is certainly noteworthy. And these are Supervisor Valerie Starkey and Supervisor Darren Short. I'm representing the Veterans of Foreign Wars, Post 1381, John McElroy. And I'd like to read to Supervisor Valerie Starkey and to Supervisor Darren Short, in appreciation and gratitude for your support of the Del Norte County Veterans Memorial Hall in assisting and addressing critical maintenance issues and in support of the membership of the Veterans of Foreign Wars of the United States of America, John McElroy, Post 1381. Given under my hand this 14th day of December, 2021. And it's signed by the post commander, and I'd like to present these to you, if I may.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's so kind of you. Thank you. That's very kind.
Much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, any other public comment at this time? Oh, great. Certainly some in the audience here. Welcome.
Hi, Craig Strong, county resident, and I just wanted to give you an update on the dog waste stations that I installed out at Point St. George and Garth's Beach with your permission last year. And the update is simply that things are going well. There's been no vandalism of the physical structures. Sometimes the bags are all taken out, but that's a rare occurrence. I do my best to maintain them. There are times when they are empty after a sunny weekend or something when there's a lot of use. The good news is that there does seem to be less dog waste on the beach, and people are finally clued in to actually carry the bags back and dispose of them rather than drop them on the trail. So that's all I have to say beyond encouraging your presence at city council meetings, where I will again bring forth the suggestion that the city install dog waste stations, particularly at South Beach and at the promenade on Front Street. I think it would make a good difference there as well. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Craig. Really appreciate your efforts. Good morning.
Good morning, Lynn Sutter. Listen, I don't know why people call me, but they do. And I think you all need to know this. A lady whose daughter was 13 years old was raped in the community, and she took her to the hospital, and the Del Norte Sheriff's Department refused her a rape kit to be conducted on her. This is outrageous. We can't have this in our community. I'm tired of mothers, you know, they feel a great sense of hopelessness here in this community because they're not being taken care of, whether they think their children have been murdered, raped, or otherwise. We've got a serious issue here, and I expect you people to do something, talk to somebody, but this can't keep going on. Thank you.
Thank you. I certainly hope that's not the case. All right. There's no additional public comment. Then we're going to go ahead and move on to our 10. Huh? Oh, sorry.
Hi, it's Megan. And so, you know, the other things I wanted to address, you know, I guess this, I think I've given, since the election, maybe some of you guys don't have it, but in the beginning, I gave you all a copy of Life Without Principle, you know, and, you know, it's where you're supposed to find a virtue in life that you work towards, you know, and I haven't seen, there's a ladder, you know, and there's missing rungs, and the first two are rotten, slippery. And I see extorting the community. That's what I call it when you hire consultants to tell you how to get a voter to vote for something. So you get a new tax. Cost of government's rising. Because you guys are increasing the cost of government on your consent agenda every 2 weeks without any notice of how that's impacting our financial situation today, in the future. We just have a growing budget and it's budgeted for it. It's because of the taxation. And I don't think anybody would mind. A lot of us vote for that kind of thing, thinking it'll go to something decent. And what really threw me for a loop is right when you got everybody to approve a tax, you bought a golf simulator at a time when you weren't even having these meetings in public, because that was, it didn't make any sense, and I see that a lot, like I said, that I think the cannabis ordinance was something where like, I tried to work, so I didn't go out of, but it was not a virtuous system, where we came up with an ordinance. Darren Short, he worked with Eric Taylor. So I wrote him and I said, maybe you should recuse yourself from setting my taxation. I know how chummy small towns are in local government, that you probably have somewhat of a relation with them and you guys congratulate each other daily. And we don't do that in the private sector. We're like, we need that pallet unloaded. You know what I mean? That has to get on the shelf, guys. There's no reward for it, when you make a decision like that, you burden me, and I explained how much, and you benefited your old colleague, Eric Taylor, who's the first licensed dispensary in the city, where there's no taxation, right? It gets kind of weird, timing and things like that. We can't prove what happened to JFK, but it is weird. And we see this, and that's the biggest thing that struck me when I started coming to these meetings 12 years ago, was that it was very similar to the big government. I thought there would be something sacred here where, a little town, we're just, maybe wear a cowboy boot or whatever the heck, but we still use a calculator, care about the people at the bottom, so when we describe how we're funding it, maybe the general fund matches the youth housing too. You know what I mean? Instead, and the cops didn't cost us nothing. Don't worry about that one. And dedicate the funds. I would like to see at the next agenda, short of me quitting, I will quit. I will quit my job. I'm not having that much fun doing it. I know I could make money going to Sacramento and opening a clothing shop.
Thank you.
So short of you guys need to dedicate the funds to disadvantaged youth program, or
Thank
else
you,
you will not have the funds next year.
Appreciate
You
it.
understand that? You're used to extorting people, right?
Thank you, Robert.
If you want
Appreciate it.
$60,000 next year, it will be dedicated to youth groups. Understand? Darren?
Thank you, Robert.
No, you don't.
Appreciate your time.
You don't understand because you can't get out calculators
Thank you, Robert.
and graphs.
Thank
It's
you,
all
Robert.
Fox News.
Appreciate it. Okay, very good. Time for our 10:30 timed item. I believe Assemblyman Wood joined us. I thought I saw him on here a few minutes ago. And we were going to receive an update. Kylie, is he still with us?
Yes, he
or-
is.
Okay, very good.
I'm here. I can't start my video for whatever reason, but if you want to just look at my picture, that's fine. I'm good with that. So good morning.
Whatever works best for you, Assemblyman.
There you go. I have an opportunity now. So
There we are.
all right,
We
there you
gotcha.
go. I'm not as well dressed as all of you folks here, so I'm not in the I'm not in the my normal work setting, so I'm taking advantage of that during the holidays. But thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to give you a bit of an update of what's going on from the Sacramento perspective. I'll try to keep my comments fairly short. I prefer a dialogue, questions, comments from you guys. And also I want to hear if there are people in the community who have some concerns. So obviously, going forward, COVID still remains a major challenge. We could talk about that all day, but I'd prefer not to at this point. Wildfires continue to be a challenge and have already devastated many communities throughout the state. Fortunately, the early rains brought some relief in October. So we are in much better shape. Broadband access remains a big challenge for Northwestern California, especially in the 5 counties that I represent. There was a $7 billion investment in broadband this year through the budget process. Some of that is federal money, obviously, to develop an open access middle mile network throughout the state, and help with last mile deployment in unserved and underserved communities. This is a big shot in the arm. This is a huge investment for us. It is also time limited, so that money is going to have to be spent within the next 4 years, or allocated within the next 4 years. And there is a significant commitment to actually getting this done. There is a commission, a middle mile commission appointed by the governor. There are 4 members of the legislature on that commission. 2 of them are myself and Senator McGuire. So you can say that the North Coast and rural communities are well represented here, and we're dogged in our determination to make sure that we get our fair share, and we also get our fair share of technical assistance to be able to move some of these things forward. Homelessness, housing, substance abuse, and mental illness continue to plague us in every single community. These are some of the issues that every community says is a top concern, and it's everywhere in the state. So we hear you. There is significant budget money allocated. There are significant efforts to try to make improvements out there. But any specific asks and specific ideas, we welcome those, and hopefully can help to move those kinds of programs forward. The 2022-23 budget revenues are expected to be good. Again, potential as much as a $31 billion surplus, and there will be a lot of asks. They're already coming in based on what happened last year, and so we'll see. Federal transportation, federal infrastructure dollars, will help improve our transportation issues and also help us expand on the broadband front. And obviously, we could also spend all day talking about last chance grade, but we probably shouldn't do that either. So, but we also know that just in general, rural communities often get the short end of the stick. And Senator McGuire and I remain an advocate for rural equity, and we'll continue to push hard to make sure we get our resources. I'm very happy for the commercial Dungeness crab folks, fishing folks, that the season's open. And selfishly, I'm really looking forward to it this holiday season. So I guess this is truly a situation better late than never, but hopefully we can get past this in the future and have crab when we're used to having it, rather than having to wait every year. Obviously, I will touch a little bit on last chance grade. The project is moving along. I know there are several options being considered to address the landslide issue, including a tunnel. The entire project is a complex engineering feat. And watching the progress in such challenging terrain has been impressive, but understandably has not been fast. Patience is bitter, but the fruit is sweet is a phrase that comes to mind. So hopefully we can hang in there, knowing at the end that we'll be much better off for the efforts. So talk about a little bit about our legislative agenda and successes in the last year. COVID and the resulting protocols in the Capitol affect us all on the legislative process. Our leadership asked us to cut back on, we were actually mandated to cut back on the number of bills that we authored and scaled everything back. I did introduce in the beginning of the year 19 bills, ultimately trimmed it to 12. 8 of those were signed and 1 was vetoed, and I'm reconsidering the other 7 others moving forward, but we can talk a little bit about those in a moment. Some that were signed into law. I'm very happy we worked on AB 1311. It came about because there were no recycled certified redemption centers in Humboldt, Trinity, Sierra or Alpine County. Del Norte recycling centers have felt the impact of this. And for me, I'm very grateful to the center in Del Norte. We're open to the needs of counties like Humboldt's, and we're hopeful that Hambro will be able to open a redemption facility in Humboldt County in the first quarter of next year. So the original California Beverage Container Recycling and Litter Reduction Act, which is a mouthful. We just call it we call it the bottle bill, for lack of a better phrase, has never provided flexibility and to communities struggling to make the entire CRV redemption centers viable. I work closely with Humboldt Waste Management Authority and the community to give them the flexibility they needed. We often felt like David fighting Goliath, even when I was only asking for modest changes, like modifying the hours of operation. The law now allows certified recycling centers to operate on an alternative schedule, less than the currently required 30 hours per week. It allows them to operate by appointment, and it exempts dealers from delivering empty beverage containers to a recycling center from the daily load limits. We know that in general, a lot of people have been accumulating a lot, and there are limits that. So there will be some exemptions from that to allow people at some point to be able to deliver as much as possible at a given time. Humboldt should have the new recycling center by the spring, as I said, and I hope the flexibility allows more to operate in the near future. It also relieves some of the burden from the facility in Del Norte County. Still a lot of work to be done. There's a couple of my colleagues working on more comprehensive fixes to the bottle bill in the coming year, but we were trying to thread a needle for some of our rural counties, and I think we hit on something that will be helpful. Through a budget request from our office, we were able to get a $15 million grant for the Save the Redwoods League Redwood Rising projects. The Save the Redwoods League has worked day and night to raise funds for this project. We'll restore young redwood forests so they can become the old growth redwood forests that we all appreciate and admire and love to see. This grant will help with the programs that they're doing to hopefully make that a possibility. That's weird. We have a new phone system here, and I don't know what to do with it except it's making all sorts of strange noises. So hopefully it will go away in a minute. AB 41 specifically addresses the need for broadband, and was a follow-up to my legislation a few years ago to increase middle mile deployment by reinforcing Caltrans Dig Once policy. Sometimes you got to tell them more than once. So we told them more than once, and we're hopeful that makes progress there. I co-authored and supported 3 other bills that support the California Advanced Services Fund. And as I said, I'm a part of the Middle Mile Advisory Committee along with Senator McGuire. A bill that had taken a long time to get there was AB 817. This bill authorizes the Director of California's Department of Fish and Wildlife to transition the calendar-based fishing license to a 365-day license like you get with your Costco card or your AAA or whatever else. That should go into place in early 2023, and also have a mobile option so that if your fishing license, you can display it on your phone rather than having to keep track of that piece of paper that gets pretty dog-eared by the end of the season, unless you take better care of it than I do mine. It took some time, but with Department of Fish and Wildlife support, once they better understood some of the challenges facing, we were able to make it happen, and I'm pretty happy about that. I continued working on successful efforts to maintain the $250 million each year for wildfire prevention, and even more state funding has been provided to increase those efforts. So that goes back to a bipartisan effort with now Senator Dolly, my colleague to the east. And we're pleased to see that for the foreseeable future, we're going to see those kinds of resources, at least beyond the next few years, to help get our arms around this. AB 9 creates a new branch within the Office of the State Fire Marshal that will focus exclusively on community fire prevention, preparedness, and mitigation efforts of CAL FIRE. This is a significant shift in how we battle our wildfire crisis. This will create a new entity, and it took quite an effort in working with many stakeholders to break through the current structure so we can move in this direction. Change isn't always popular, and bigger changes are even less popular. So this was a big step for us, and we're happy we've got it done. This will actually move 8 existing programs and duties that are currently spread out through CAL FIRE to a new branch under the State Fire Marshal. And additionally, the bill requires that all program staff and leadership dedicated to these programs be the lowest priority workforce that might be asked to respond to wildfire missions. So why is that important? Every year, as we work on these prevention efforts, and as the fire season creeps up, those people working on them often get pulled away to fight fires, and our work stalls and our problem continues to get bigger. So only by changing this to focusing, getting these activities hopefully to be year round and making sure that the folks that are doing them are not going to be pulled away, hopefully we'll begin to change the tide as we move forward. So we've chaired several Assembly Health Committee informational hearings. I'm doing one tomorrow as well on mental health issues. And including my commitment to ensure quality care to residents and nursing homes, looking at ways to improve our Medi-Cal system, and also obviously around mental health challenges. In my visits throughout the district, limited as they have been because of COVID, I was on the ground with first responders with CAL FIRE at wildfires, spent time with both CAL FIRE and the tribes to better understand how we can benefit from prescribed burns and other wildfire preventive practices. So I'm reintroducing some things in 2022, working again on the Office of Healthcare Affordability. Over the years, many of my efforts to contain healthcare costs have been signed into law. However, those laws usually almost immediately result in lawsuits. And those are in process, again, slowed by the legal system and the pandemic. So I guess no greater flattery than to be sued by the entity you're trying to compel to change their behavior. So far, we have prevailed in those lawsuits when they are all played out. We're in the middle of one right now. We'll see how that one plays out. But it's the status quo. There's a lot of momentum to keep the status quo as it is. And there's it's hard to make change. And so when you do make a change and you are successful, there's people that are trying to prevent the implementation of those policies for as long as possible to keep those practices that they enjoy active as long as possible. The work to contain healthcare costs must continue, and OCA is critical, OCA being the Office of Healthcare Affordability, to that process. We have to have a system that tracks healthcare costs and can help us understand how those costs affect patient outcomes. I worked with the governor's administration and have experienced significant pushback from many of the stakeholders in the for-profit healthcare arena, but I'm not giving up. In issues I'm researching, considering for the upcoming session, more follow-up legislation on nursing home licensure and reform, issues related to mental health, and for instance, getting more clarity on how a 72-hour mental health hold or a 5150 hold is defined, and that's a big topic for our hearing tomorrow. So I'll close by wishing you all the best during the holiday season. If we have time, I'm happy to answer any questions, and just I'm thankful for the opportunity to spend some time with you today.
Thank you, Assemblyman. I know we've got several board members that would probably like to engage you. I'm going to go ahead and start with Supervisor Berkowitz here to my left.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. This makes my 15th year that I've been working on the broadband for Del Norte County. So what can we expect for broadband for Del Norte County?
Well, it's a great question. And so what we should get some more clarity around that as soon as tomorrow. At our last Middle Mile Advisory Committee a month ago, 18 projects were unveiled throughout the state. None of them in our district, quite frankly, none of them in my assembly district. Some of them in Senator. There was a couple in Senator McGuire's Senate district, which Senate district being larger. So I think we'll have a much better feeling for what that means. The idea of the middle mile is that this is often the most expensive piece of the puzzle to build. So the idea is in those areas that can benefit from that, having an open access middle mile so that players can tap into that. To actually tap, I think of these as blood vessels. You think the big aorta being that big massive cable fiber coming from who knows where, the middle mile being these little arteries that are moving around the state, and then the little tiny blood vessels that come off of that are actually the things that make it into our businesses, homes, communities, healthcare facilities, and so on. And so it will become much more clear, I think, once we see what the list of projects are. But the focus of this is the middle mile itself. We believe that with that, by eliminating that huge cost, will make it much easier for some of the implementation at the local level for the last, what we call the last mile, which is actually getting into people's homes and businesses.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Supervisor Short.
Yeah, Assemblymember Wood, thank you for your update. I didn't really have any questions for you, but I just wanted to comment. I hope that you're healing up well.
Thank you. I had some knee surgery, so I'll just disclose that. So Supervisor Howard knows all about that. So
I didn't cause it.
He didn't cause it. To his credit, he did not cause it.
Very good. Supervisor Hemmingson, please.
Yes, Assemblymember, thank you so much. I just have a couple of comments. Thanks, 1311, great start. Appreciate that. And all your efforts with the wildfire issues from start to finish and the license fees. Those are all good things. Appreciate the help on the North Coast and hope you get your crab soon and your leg heals up quickly. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Well, I don't have any questions either. I just wanted to thank you. I am really interested in, and I'll be following the 5150 revamping. There's also another one that I'm interested in. That's the domestic violence laws and looking to revamping those as well. So keep up the good work. Thank you for the very informative update and have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Supervisor. You too.
And I'll echo the board's comments. You've been a stalwart for us up here on the North Coast, Assemblyman, on multiple issues, as you've just listed today. I think some that are extremely important to us and others that kind of hit the fringes of us to the south, but they all impact us in one way or another. But the leadership that you've shown specifically throughout the state on fire has been critical. And I asked this question to some of the top fire officials here in the state of California recently when we brought a discussion to all 58 counties. And I asked them, who's the person we turn to who sits on our state legislature, who's leading the way on fire conversations of the state. And because we wanted to have them at our county meeting and all 58 counties. And Assemblyman Wood, your name came to the very top of that. If we had one person to select, it was you. And I cannot state how important that is for all of us that are linked by this, not only the fires, but the smoke that impacts everybody. We learned this a couple weeks ago that fires and that smoke has closed more school days than any other thing here in our state. And that's a big deal, not only for the health of our students, but also for their education. So your leadership on much of this has been extremely important. I'd like you to continue to pay attention to what's going on with the Board of Forestry, as it does impact counties like ours, specifically with 80% public land. When we start eroding what we could do within these areas like our WUIs, it becomes very important. So I know with that legislation, there's winners and losers, but for Del Norte County, when we have mandates for building homes, we really need to have a fair balance in how we operate in these areas and are able to construct. I also really appreciate your support of Redwood Rising and Mill Creek in particular. It's been extremely important. It has put people that I saw walk off the job in the early 90s and essentially replaced by a state park, come back onto that job to help with the thinning practices that essentially are creating not only a fire resilient force, but a force that's going to be around for generations to come. And really appreciate your time and attention to those matters. So thank you again, Assemblyman Wood. I'm going to open it up for a quick public comment period, just in case there's anybody else out there, and we'll return after that. Kylie, any public comment for the Assemblyman?
I don't have any online, Chair.
Okay, very good. Then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. If you would like to stick around, we've got a really fun proclamation on our agenda next. You might want to hear it, but you may have already heard it if you were paying attention to what happened nationally for us here weeks ago, but really appreciate your time.
thank you very much for the opportunity. I do have to sign off. I've got another meeting, but I just want to, I have a really great staff, and Paul Ramey in my office has been, he's the master of understanding a lot of the personalities and the challenges we're facing with our wildfire issues. And he's become the go-to expert in the building from a staff level. And I'm very, very grateful for that. But it's also just in Aaron Dunn, our district representative who is in Eureka, fabulous resource. If you as any constituents have concerns, reach out to her first. A lot of times we can solve those for you locally, and we're happy to do that. And but everything gets elevated to me personally, so I know what's going on. So I just want to say thanks for the opportunity to once again to be here. Wish you all the happiest of holidays. And when I just want to, I'll close it with this. While I represent one of the largest assembly districts in the state. It's the 5th largest overall. It's about 300 miles from one end to the other. And while some people might bemoan that, I only say that as a kind of a badge of honor. I love every corner of this district, and I love the people I represent, and consider it a tremendous honor. When we're working in the Capitol and trying to come up with ways to solve problems, we always look at, is this going to be an issue that's going to be good for our district first, primary, number one, always. And if it's going to be good for our district, it's going to be good for California. But we always look at our local needs first. And so I appreciate it. You guys are not shy about letting me know what your needs are. Please keep that up. It inspires us and gives us opportunity to do everything we can. So thank you so much.
Appreciate your time. Merry Christmas.
Good one. You too. Bye-bye.
All right, this next item is item number 20. Been looking forward to this for quite some period of time. I'm just going to go ahead and read it into the record, which is to receive a presentation from Michael Mavris of his award-winning essay titled, "What Does the Theme 6 Rivers, Many Peoples, One Tree Mean to Me?" and approve and adopt proclamation honoring Michael for being selected youth tree lighter of Sugar Bear, the capital Christmas tree, as requested by Supervisor Starkey. So at this time, we'd like to have young Mr. Mavris come to our podium, and you're certainly welcome to pull that mic down as low as you need it there, although you're growing up quite quickly.
Thank you.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
We're doing wonderfully well. Thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure. What does the theme, 6 rivers, many peoples, one tree mean to me? As I ponder the question presented here, I consider where I am living, literally in the heart of the 6 Rivers National Forest. Here, tucked deep within the northwestern corner of California, is a remote land, whose majesty comes not from the achievements of humankind, but rather nature itself. 6 mighty rivers crisscross this rugged land, from the Smith and Klamath rivers in the north, stretching over to the Eel and the Mad, meeting the Van Dusen and Trinity in the south. All of our rivers, amongst the cleanest in the world, represent life itself. Like the first peoples who have lived here since time immemorial, these rivers overcome every obstacle to ultimately reach their goal of becoming one with the Pacific Ocean. Is this done by an exhibition of power or a show of strength? No, it is accomplished by sheer persistence, the indomitable spirit of never giving up, which is representative of this land and the peoples that live here. From the great tribes, the Yurok, Tolowa, Karuk, Wiyot, Chimariko, Nangatal, Hupa, and Wailaki, we are taught to commune and truly be one with nature. This ethos teaches us to view rugged lands, secluded forests, and fierce weather patterns as something genuinely beautiful. Such is the story of the white fir, also known as the Abies concolor, whose beginnings trace back to a single seed. From this humble seed, dropped on a Mother Earth in a remote region, the process begins. Nurtured by the fertile soil, which the 6 Rivers saturates throughout the year, and, against all apparent odds,
not only confronts the weather, but embraces it. The young tree emerges proudly upwards towards the shining sun. From this great forest, we bring you the majestic white fir to be the capital Christmas tree. As the lights are strung and the ornaments placed, we, the people who live in the tree's symbolic shadow, hope that its beauty and grandeur provide a beacon to America and a reminder that on this Christmas, that all things are possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay right there, Michael.
Okay, if you could just hang out with us for 1 second, we have to take care of just one little bit of business.
Okay.
I have a couple little questions though for you. How
Okay.
awesome was it?
It was an amazing trip. I love seeing the Declaration of Independence. That was a big for me. We got to go to Ford's Theater where Lincoln was actually shot. We saw a really cool play. Yeah, the trip was really amazing.
And then when you got to light the tree, was that like one of the most incredible experiences?
Yeah, that was probably the biggest moment of the trip. for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, you were on C-SPAN.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff. There was
Yeah.
a lot of stuff. Like, yeah, I got to meet Nancy Pelosi actually before that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it was a really amazing opportunity.
So you were like the star of the show for a lot of it, right?
I hope so.
Well, you sir made us proud. And so on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, we want to give you a proclamation. We only give that to very few people throughout a year, and you're one of them. So if I could, I'd like to read this into the record.
Supervisor Starkey, let's vote on it first.
Oh, we can't just do it?
No,
Darn it, everybody.
That's a little bit of business. I
All
have to
right.
take care of there. So I'm going to quickly open this item for public comment. Okay, seeing none, we're going to go ahead and bring it back to the board. Look for a motion.
I'll move to approve that we award Michael Mavris this proclamation.
I second.
We have a motion second on the table, probably a third and a fourth. Okay, very good. Kylie, please pull the vote.
Supervisor Short,
Yes.
Supervisor Brooklyn,
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson,
Absolutely.
Supervisor Starkey.
Yes.
Chair Howard.
Yes. All right.
All right,
Supervisor
now I
Starkley,
can, now I
there-
can.
there you
read it
go.
in. All right. So it's a proclamation of the Del Norte County Board of Supervisors honoring Michael Mavris. Whereas Michael Mavris, a fifth grade student from Mary Peacock Elementary, was selected as the youth tree lighter of Sugar Bear, the capital Christmas tree, by U.S. Representative Jared Huffman and Forest Supervisor Ted MacArthur. Whereas Michael's essay was chosen out of 53 submissions using the prompt, "What does the theme 6 rivers, many peoples, one tree mean to you?" And whereas Michael has always tested in the 99th percentile in most school subjects while earning awards both scholastically and in sports. Whereas Michael has been a member of the Responsible Student Club, a former spelling bee champion, and is a member of the Mary Peacock Band playing a percussion instrument and also plays the piano. And whereas Michael also enjoys playing baseball, he was on a little league team, all-star team, as well as on a traveling baseball and basketball team. And whereas Michael loves to travel and recount stories of his many adventures while climbing the pyramids in Mexico City, standing on the Acropolis in Greece, visiting the ruins of Ayutthaya in Thailand. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, and in the ancient city of Pompeii in Italy. And whereas Michael dreams of one day becoming an attorney so that he can protect the rights and make a difference in the lives of others. Be it further proclaimed that the Del Norte County Board of Supervisors congratulates Michael Mavris on his achievements and extends the best wishes in his future endeavors, passed and adopted this 14th day of December, 2021.
I appreciate it. It's an honor.
For you. We're gonna shake and everything, okay? We do that like this? Yeah, you got that? Nice job. You made us very, very proud.
Thank you.
Okay.
George and Chassie should be very proud.
Thank you.
Cool.
We really appreciate that. As you saw, Michael, everybody on this board lights up. And when it comes to the youth in this community, You do represent a shining beacon and an example for everybody out there that's young and your age to take that leadership step and give them hope that anything is possible. So again, congratulations on this incredible accomplishment. Have a wonderful day. All right, we're going to go ahead and take up our item 28, which is our 10:55 time item, which is a collective good update. And I believe Heather's with us today. There she is. Good morning
Yes.
again, Heather.
What an act to follow.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Thanks a lot. That was the
Valerie's doing.
cutest, most powerful thing. Very cool. Well, good morning again, board. I'm joined by several of my team members at DHHS. This is our core project team. They're going to be reporting out on our progress from our strategic plan that we're building with the collective good. We also are joined by the collective good in our attendees, and they are here to answer questions at the end if you have any that you would like to send their way. And with that, I will turn it over to our core project team who will introduce themselves. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm Cheyenne Hogan. I'm the program manager here for behavioral health. Thank you for having us this morning so that we can give you some updates and information about our progress. Let me just switch screens here. Let me stop share so I can get my screen situated. Who wants to fly ahead on me? All right. There we go. Now it's locked into place. All right. So as the board can probably recall, you guys approved a contract between DHHS and the Collective Good in August of this year. And in September of this year, we did a kickoff event with the Collective Good in person here at DHHS. The purpose of our agreement with the Collective Good and DHHS is to evaluate some of our internal systems and structures to create a strategic plan that will hopefully lead our department into the future. During today's presentation, you'll learn about who the core team members are, what we've accomplished so far, and some information that we're learning from what we're collecting from our community members and our team. A big part of this project includes some practice on diversity, equity, and inclusion, also known as DEI. And for some of you, I know you've been to presentations where you've heard me speak of DEI, but for some of you, that might be a new term. And I think a simple way to put that into context is that diversity is being asked to the dance. Inclusion is being asked to dance. And equity is how much space you receive on the dance floor. And I'm going to pass it to Charlene, who will do some introductions of our team.
Good morning. My name is Charlene Blackburn. I would like to introduce my core project team members. Sunny Baker of Public Health has been with us for 9 years. Samantha Regan, Behavioral Health, 3 years of experience. Irene Moreno, Fiscal Admin, 5 years of experience. Cheyenne Hogan of Behavioral Health has 15 years of experience. Jennifer Ortman, Public Assistance, Employment and Training, has 16 years of experience. Heather Friedrich of Social Services, 11 years of experience. And I, Charlene Blackburn, have 9 years of experience with Public Assistance, Employment and Training. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Irene Moreno. I'm a fiscal manager for DHHS, the Department of Health and Human Services. And today I'm going to be giving an overview of our project timeline. Our strategic planning process with the Collective Good is divided into 3 sections: discovery, strategy, and implementation. We are currently in the discovery phase. And during this phase, the Collective Good has conducted interviews with staff and community partners, facilitated 2 public meetings to gather feedback from the community, surveyed all of DHHS staff and received feedback from 70% of staff, facilitated 2 workshops with DHHS leadership geared towards integrating equity practices and philosophies into DHHS leadership, met biweekly with the core group team to assist with a SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And they're conducting a variety of informational interviews to compare us to other California counties and identify any areas of improvement. They have been working on a compensation analysis for the county, and they will be presenting all of this information along with their final recommendations to the DHHS leadership team next month. After reviewing their findings and recommendations, DHHS will enter the strategy phase in February. During the strategy phase, we will establish priorities and goals and create strategies. All staff will be engaged at various points throughout the process, resulting in guiding principles and a strategic framework that is co-owned by the entire organization. A strategic plan outline that contains priorities, goals, and key performance indicators will be drafted and will be shared and refined with further feedback from staff. Once DHHS has determined its strategic direction and organizational priorities, the collective good will guide the team through the implementation phase. During this last phase, the collective good will hold a series of conversations with staff to test the feasibility of the plan and identify alternate pathways if needed. All DHHS staff will have the ability to provide feedback on the strategic plan before it is finalized.
So as Irene mentioned, part of what we're in right now is our discovery phase. And these are a few highlights to provide to you today. We, as a core team, sat down and identified some people that we felt like were individual partners that we collaborate with a lot within DHHS and should sit down with the collective good and have an opportunity to provide some feedback. And as you can see, we held 6 of those meetings with the Yurok Tribe, the Del Norte County Sheriff's Office, Our Daily Bread, the Del Norte County Probation Department, the Del Norte County Unified School District, and Remy Vista, who provides children's behavioral health services. We also looked at our internal structure of staff and selected some individuals who we felt like brought a lot of knowledge and history and information regarding health and human services and were innovative leaders within our organization. And so they conducted 7 meetings with varying programs within DHHS, as you can see here on this list. And then also, as mentioned, the town hall meetings. So we had an initial town hall meeting that was a hybrid, both in person and based in Zoom, followed up a few weeks later, a Zoom option. Both of those meetings brought in about 50 plus participants, ranging from community partners to community members to organizational providers that provide an array of services within Del Norte County.
Good morning. My name is Samantha Regan. I'm the Staff Services Manager for Behavioral Health. The Collective Good and core team have worked together to identify DHHS strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, referred to as a SWOT, SWOT analysis. Starting with some strengths we've identified. Number 1, we've identified that DHHS is strongest in meeting our client needs. A recent client survey has reported about 56% of our clients agree or strongly agree that they were satisfied with the work that we provided, and less than 3% of clients strongly disagreed with the work we provided. Number 2 is that the HHS is strong at building community relationships. Our behavioral health branch has had an improvement in our relationship with the local Yurok tribe. Our MHSA department has partnered with the Yurok tribe to fund 2 part-time positions for the Boys and Girls Club in Klamath to provide youth prevention and wellness services. And I'll go ahead and pass it along to Jennifer Ortman.
Good morning, I'm Jennifer Ortman, a Public Assistance Employment and Training Supervisor. Staff identified some important factors and motivations to do their best work at DHHS as being supported and empowered, investment in their professional development, such as training, skills, and experiences, consistent feedback to and from the managers, and technology and tools. However, during the staff survey, the main weaknesses that were identified were internal communication, innovation, and training. Internal communication, only 27% of staff said they understood how and why important decisions got made. Though 70% of staff seem to have a strong connection to their job, their role and their branch at achieving DHHS's mission, due to the silos, many lack the connection to the bigger picture of the entire department. Only about a third of the staff said that they trust the leadership in DHHS, and less than a half stated that they have a clear idea of the vision, mission, and goals at DHHS, or a clear idea of what colleagues in other departments are responsible for. With innovation, 71% of staff agreed that people of all different backgrounds, characteristics, and beliefs are welcome here and understand how diversity, equity, and inclusion ties into DHHS's mission. However, only 42% say they feel DHS is committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion in this climate and culture. And only 38% of staff agreed that DHHS does a good job in making all employees, regardless of their background, feel safe, valued, and respected. DHSS seems to be resistant to change and is too comfortable with the status quo, resulting in a lack of innovation. With training, less than half, about 44% of staff said that they've had the adequate training to meet the demands of their roles. Training material is not updated with the most recent information if it does exist. Many employees are being trained or mentored by other employees over who have overloaded workloads. Some roles held by single employees go vacant before filled, leaving the new employees in their new roles with no trainer or mentor. All these things play an important role in employee retention. And I will pass it to Sunny.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sunny Baker, Health Education Coordinator and Public Health Branch, DHHS. The staff survey shows that DHHS's biggest strength are our staff's strong motivation and dedication to helping people in the community, meeting client needs, valuing community partnership. Additionally, the survey results show that DHHS staff desire to have a clear understanding of the agency's vision, mission, and goals, and work together cooperatively and collaboratively for personal and agency's development and success with a bigger picture in mind. Over 50 community representatives from the diverse sectors in our community attended 2 town hall meetings, offer their feedback and suggestion on how the DHHS can better serve the community. Key recommendations they offer include improving a better communication system and providing enhanced behavioral health services to meet the ever-increasing mental health services, especially the youth and the vulnerable population in the outlying areas. They also recommended that DHHS respond to the community's opportunities proactively to seize the forthcoming opportunities by integrating services with a whole person and whole child model approaches to increase impact and sustainability. Now is our opportunities. We are here together as a team with our hearts open to the voices of the staff and the community, thinking outside the box, moving forward to build a vibrant, resilient DHHS and healthy communities together. Change is hard and uncomfortable for all of us. Still, we are to develop a competent and skillful workforce by fostering a supportive environment and culture, by breaking silos and promoting partnership and collaboration within the agency and across the sector in our community to increase cohesiveness and improve health equity and well-being for all. We can all become an integral part of positive solution and collective goods through open and honest communication and transparency. Thank you for this opportunity. And back to Samantha.
Thank you. So I will end with the top 4 threats that were identified by the staff survey. The number 1 was resources, with 57% of staff reported that DHHS is understaffed and has a lack of human resources. Number 2 is skills, with 35% of DHHS staff reported a lack of in-house skills and experience or lack of trainings to acquire the needed skills to succeed. Number 3, systems and processes, with 34% of staff reporting too many workarounds, wasted time and effort. We're always working with ever-changing regulations to all programs, especially with COVID upon us. And lastly, resistance to change, with nearly a third of staff reporting that DHH staff is too comfortable with the status quo and that there is a lack of innovation within DHHS. And I will pass it to Heather Snow.
Great job, team. Thank you so much. Board, I hope you are able to digest some of that information. I know it's a lot. We thought it was very important to be transparent with this information to you. I know some of it for me is hard to hear because they're weaknesses, right? But the good thing about that is I think it shows that we received honesty in our responses. And that gives us the opportunity to make changes. If it all sounded good, I would know something was wrong there. So there's always opportunity for improvement. We are going through this process. We've got about 6 months left in the contract with the collective good. And you heard it here. We're too comfortable with the status quo. So everybody, is asking for some improvements and some change. The other good news is we already have some ideas about how to address some of these things. The issue of silos comes up. It's come up for years. So we have to look at that creatively. How can we address that? And how can we focus on equity and inclusion and making that a more central part of our mission, and communicating that inward to staff and outward to the community. So we are moving right along on this journey. I want the board to feel that you have access to this information, and we can continue to report out as often as you would like. And with that, I will open it to questions. And just remind you that we have 2 of our team members, Ed Davies and Emily Rodriguez from the Collective Good, on as attendees if you have questions for them. And our team will be here for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Really appreciate you bringing this to us today. I do have maybe 1 or 2 questions. The first one being, I loved the introduction and the duration of time each has been with DHSS. Do you have a demographic breakdown of that for your department by years for each employee?
We could make one of those for you.
I'd be really interested in it, to see the longevity that we have within the department. Really, I think it would really get towards that last threat, potentially the 34% that said resistance to change. I'm curious how that plays out in that demographic. But I do agree with that top threat at 57%, understaffed resource-based piece. Yeah, that's not just obviously your department. I think it's every department here in Del Norte County and every business here in Del Norte County. So it's not that DHSS is here alone with that, but we do understand what you're experiencing.
I do have a slide from our presentation with the Collective Good that has a little bit of a breakdown. I'll share that because it's very brief.
Please.
25% of employees that responded to the survey have been in their position less than a year, 33% 1 to 5 years, and 41% 6 years or more. And if you want a deeper dive or more information, just let me know.
No, that's a good breakdown. Appreciate it. Okay, any other questions from the board at this time? Supervisor Starkey, please.
It's not really a question, more of a comment. You guys did a fabulous job at presenting this today. It was a group effort. You obviously all are invested in this, and that shows. And so I encourage you to keep with the process. It'll be discouraging along the ways, I'm sure, because anything uncomfortable sometimes isn't the best place to be, but that's where the growth is going to happen, is outside the comfort zone. So keep with what you guys are doing. I encourage you to be honest and speak up and get your coworkers and your colleagues to do the same. And you're going to create a system that betters the community as a whole, because I believe in one of the presentations that I watched, the majority of the people are in this job and doing what you guys are doing because you want to better the people around you. So make sure you keep that as your focus as you move forward. And again, I just greatly appreciate the group effort that it took to make this presentation today, and keep that up.
Supervisor Hemmingson.
Yes, thanks, team. I really appreciate the information that's coming out of that. Some of it was, I was a little surprised about, but I think it's all workable. And I just wanted to ask Heather, what was the most surprising thing that's come out of this so far for you? I don't want to put you on the spot, so, but I am.
You know, I think some of the information is hard to digest, and the timing. I want to point out the survey was done right before the recent MOU and raises were negotiated with unions. So one of the data points was specifically a lot of employees would jump ship for a 5% increase. And I had a hard time reconciling that with everyone saying they were so kind-hearted in doing this, you know, because they want to help people. That's hard for me to understand, and it tells me there's more to it. But we have had the represented employees have had those raises at this point, and we think it's a good idea probably to do an annual survey after this and see how we compare in the future.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Great work, guys.
Great.
Thank you.
I just want to say how amazing you guys are, really, when we take a look and see what in the heck all of you do and your purpose. It's amazing, and I appreciate everything that you do for us.
Thank you. All righty. Well, appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and open this up to public comment very quickly, see if there's any public comment out there. Okay, very good. We'll go ahead and bring it back to the board. And thank you again for the presentation today.
Thank you so much. Bye.
All right. We're going to go ahead and move on with item 29 on our agenda, which is to consider public input and discuss draft local supervisory district maps and approve and adopt a resolution ratifying one of the draft local supervisory district maps and finalize the 2020 local redistricting process requested by the Assistant County Counsel. Good morning. How are you?
I'm very good. Chair Howard, supervisors, thank you for having me here today. Two tough acts to follow, but here we are after 9 months of considering local redistricting. I was looking back on the process, and I first came to you in March of 2021, and since then we've had 9 public meetings on this issue. So I'm happy to say that we're ready to have you guys vote on one of the 4 draft maps that was published back in October. And I am happy to ask questions, but I don't have anything more to present myself today.
Okay, very good. With that, I'm going to go ahead and open it quickly to public comment unless there's any questions for council at this time.
The only question I would have is it able to put up the 4 maps? We didn't get it in our agenda packet, which is fine.
I'm sorry, I didn't put it in your agenda packet this time. I did in the past, and I don't know that Rachel doesn't seem to be back there. She's been my right-hand person in this process. So
no, it's fine. I just wanted that more for the public than for us, but
absolutely. I mean, if it's something that's important to you guys, or if we have members of the public, I'm sure we can make it happen. It would just take a few minutes.
We could also get you an Etcho sketch if you're interested.
Yeah, an Etcho sketch. And then my last thing.
They're etched in my brain.
Okay, very good.
My last thing is that don't undersell yourself, that you had two tough acts to follow, because you did a phenomenal job on this, and you are quite the act yourself. So I appreciate all the work that you put into this. So that's my only comments.
Thank you very much.
Okay, appreciate it. Let's go ahead and open it up for public comment.
Chair, I'm not seeing any online.
Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and bring it back to the board. How does the board wish to move forward? Don't everybody jump forward at once.
Well, I'll be honest, I've been said it from the get-go. I'm very much in favor of map 1. My reasons is that map 1 is the least disruptive. It stays quite with the current parameters and the districts that we currently have. And so I don't know if you want me to make a motion that we approve map 1. Is that how we would do it?
I think that's totally appropriate. The way that the resolution was drafted, we're just going to write in which of the 4 draft maps. And so a motion for draft map 1, I think is clear.
Right. So that's what I'd like to do, is make a motion for map 1.
And I
I'd
will
like to
second.
accept that.
Okay, very good. We do have a motion and a second for map 1 to be written into the resolution, which would ratify the local supervisorial districts. And so with that, is there any other motions on the table? Okay, then Kylie, please pull the vote.
Supervisor Short,
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson,
Yes.
Supervisor Starkey,
Yes.
Supervisor Berkowitz.
Yes.
Chair Howard.
Yes. All right, then I want to go ahead and move to our urgency item at this time and add it to our general government section, which would be the urgency item to direct staff to take action necessary to alleviate the flooding caused by the unabated increases in the levels of the lake.
Move to approve.
Okay,
Second.
we have a motion, and a second on the table. Public comment on the urgency item. Okay,
Chair, I don't have any online.
very good. Let's go ahead and bring it back to a vote then. Kylie, please pull the vote.
Supervisor Starkey,
Yes.
Supervisor Berkowitz,
Yes.
Supervisor Short,
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson,
Yes.
Chair Howard.
Yes. All right, thank you very much. Let's go ahead to our budget transfer items at this time then, which is 33, 34, 35 on your agenda today. Budget transfer item 11-04 in the amount of 33,000 within the miscellaneous revenues expenditures in the Department of Agriculture's budget unit line item. And then item 34, 12-01 in the amount of 300,000 within the public health budget unit that utilizes the grant applied for through the California Department of Public Health and California Equitable Recovery Initiative. And item 35, 12-02 in the amount of $1,757 within the measure of our budget unit to cover the cost incurred by the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration as requested by the County Administrative Officer. So any motions on the table for those budget items at this time?
So moved.
We have a motion on the table.
I'll second.
We have a second by Supervisor Hemmingson. Let's go ahead and open those items up for public comment.
Chair, I have none online.
Okay. So Kylie, please pull the vote on items 34, 35, and 33.
Supervisor Short,
Yes.
Supervisor Starkey,
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson,
Yes.
Supervisor Berkowitz.
Yes.
Chair Howard.
Yes. All right, then let's go ahead and move to our legislative and budget issues. Consider miscellaneous legislative and budget matters pertinent to the County of Del Norte. Authorize the chair to sign and send appropriate letters with respect to matters pending before the state or federal governments. Item 36 on our agenda, which is approve and authorize the use of capital improvement funding in fiscal year 2021-22. Adopted budget in the amount of $14,840 for the replacement of 8 commercial overhead doors at the Agriculture Animal Control Department as requested by the County Administrative Officer and Director of Building and Maintenance.
Move for approval.
We have a motion and a second on the table. That was a motion by Supervisor Short, second by Supervisor Hemmingson. Public comment on this item, please.
Chair, I have none online.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and bring it back to the board. Kylie, please pull the vote.
Supervisor Berkowitz,
Yes.
Supervisor Starkey,
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson,
Yes.
Supervisor Short,
Yes.
Chair Howard.
Yes. All right, let's move to item 37. Approve the county administrative officer to sign the return of funds for 2020-21 letter from Trendrell Insurance Fund requesting that a portion of excess funds be transferred between insurance programs for the county of Del Norte and have the remainder of excess funds returned to the county and authorize the auditor controller to establish a special reserve fund to deposit and account for the funds that are returned as requested by the CAO auditor controller.
Move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion on the table. Second. And a second. Kylie, public comment.
Chair, I'm seeing none at this time.
Okay, very good. We'll bring it back to the board for a poll vote. Kylie, please poll.
Supervisor Starkey?
Yes.
Supervisor Berkowitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Hemmingson?
Yes.
Supervisor Short?
Yes.
Chair Howard?
Yes.
That was an easy one.
Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and move to this last item on our agenda, which is our brief reports, which are, might be very lengthy since it's been such a long period of time since we last met. But let's go ahead and start with Supervisor Starkey.
I tried to truncate it, but it is not brief. I attended the Veterans Day Parade, enjoyed seeing all the veterans who have served in the military. With Supervisor Short, we met with the VFW Hall to discuss some issues that they were having. The gentlemen that were here today, that was nice, very pleasant surprise. We were just doing our job, so that was nice to get recognized for that. But after we had some discussion, we followed up with a meeting with our building maintenance, veteran services, the CAO, and the administrative service officer to discuss ways in which we can assist in having that historic building remain a safe place for our veterans. They like to gather there and enjoy each other's relationships and such. Since we met, the ramp has been replaced. New signs have been installed. They're waiting for a part on the elevator to get it functioning, and they are going to be assessing for roof leaks. So a big shout out to Aaron Goodwin and Alan Windegravo for making that happen. I attended 2 visitor bureau meetings. Supervisor Short and I attended at the Yurok Tribe meeting to discuss some solutions for maintenance at the boat ramps in Klamath. I met with the Common Good folks who are doing that research that we just had that great presentation about this morning. I attended an Area 1 on Agency meeting and got a report about homeless issues that are rising among our elderly. And this is extremely concerning to me. Per Daphne Lambert, who runs Mission Possible, from June until the date of the report, which is November 15th of 2021. So roughly, what is that, 4 or 5 months? There were 200 people that she met with that needed services. And of those, 60% were seniors. So that means 120 of the 200 were senior citizens. And some of those are receiving Social Security, but typically it's less than $1,000 a month. Most are singled and widowed. So it's an increasing concern amongst our community that our homeless are now our elderly. So we're going to be looking at ways to perhaps get some rapid housing for like a motel room so that we can get the seniors stabilized in order to set up a case management system in which to find them services and resources. We had other discussions in which we can address the homelessness, such as maybe some module factories, small houses and whatnot. I attended the city council meeting ×4. They have yet to pick a mayor. I find that very interesting, and part of my district is in the city, so I like to attend those meetings regularly. I attended a fish and game meeting with Supervisor Hemmingson regarding Point St. George's parking lot. There's been some discussion about Fish and Game applying for a grant to have that parking lot paved and other improvements, as well as come up with solutions to mitigate the congregation of people during the night in that parking lot. In that meeting, I was informed that Frank Kemp will be looking to apply for a grant with the Wildlife Conservation Board to fix the rails and the staircase at the split stairs on Pebble Beach. That's been a concern for District 2 residents for some time now. So I'll be following up with Mr. Kemp to make sure that that's progressing. I've attended the Harbor Commission meeting. I attended the Solid Waste Management meeting. It's of note that there will be a one-time only opportunity to dispose of your larger waste items, such as refrigerators, mattresses, appliances, during an event that'll be scheduled in March of 2022 for Smith River, and then June of 2022 for Crescent City. And Gasky and Klamath will also be included in those dates to be announced. It was supposed to be last weekend, but that did not go through. Recology is continuing to replace the street side paired trash and recycling containers. So it's starting to look a lot nicer, and a shout out to Recology for getting that done. I toured the garden at the Family Resource Center with First Five. Dar Caldwell made some time with me to share with me his vision and the progress that's made and what the purpose of that garden is to begin with. We do have some encroachment issues that we need to address. But they're always looking for volunteers to assist in keeping that garden a safe place for children to go and create and learn about different things. So I'm encouraging people to look for ways to volunteer at that garden. I attended a special tri-agency meeting just so I can get more familiar with that agency and what it is that their vision is. I attended a cultural competency work group. And again, as we heard today on our presentation, the BUZZ acronym is DEI, which is diversity, equality, and inclusion, and how we really need to start in acknowledging the importance of that in our organizations and community. I attended the grand reopening of the Crescent Elk Auditorium, and I really felt that I should have actually paid for a ticket, since I was treated to really the most wonderful performances by the Del Norte High School Steel Band and Madrigals. It had special saxophone places, and then Nick and Lisa Rails, just complete generosity that they keep showing to our community. I attended the Redwood Coast Transit meeting for Supervisor Berkowitz, who was out of town. But I learned yesterday that they are going to be experiencing some significant staff shortages. So we need to implement a holiday schedule through mid-January for Redwood Coast Transit. I spoke with an investigator from the OIG's office. There's an ongoing investigation for the Economic Development Center. And as I learn more about EDC and how it interacts with the tri-agency, since we are going to be making some decisions about the tri-agency's purpose in the future, I wanted to make sure I became very familiar with all of that. The report that he is preparing will be available at the first of the year, so I will make sure I get a copy of that. I attended the special meeting of the Board of Supervisors. It's always a pleasure to meet with my colleagues. I do enjoy this job, and I enjoy meeting with all of you. I attended the CSAC conference in Monterey, was able to network with other supervisors. We were able to go to different policy committee meetings, and I found it just incredibly rewarding to go to the meeting with regards to law enforcement and social services. We had a lot of great keynote speakers, and their inspiration helped us to become better leaders. I attended a meeting with the Assistant CAO Hooper regarding SB 1383. And I just want to be really clear, because my mom got confused. She heard on the news that after the first of the year, we have to all do our organic waste and we have to do composting. And that's going to be true. That will happen sometime in the future. But January 1st, with regard to our waste compost, we signed a waiver. So we're going to have that pushed out for 5 years. So that's going to be in the larger areas. We do have to get ready for that. We do have to start planning, because that is going to be something for the future. But for now, that doesn't apply to Del Norte County. We got a rural waiver. And then finally, I traveled to Washington, D.C. to see the U.S. Capitol tree. I geeked out on this whole event. I'm not even going to lie that this became such a huge, important thing for me. I did a couple Facebook Lives at the tree, both in the daytime and the nighttime. I got to see all the ornaments that our local community made. And I just spent 4 days there doing a million things. I had such a great day or time. But a lot of it, I went and just hung out at the tree so I could talk to as many people as possible to tell them about the Six Rivers National Forest and Del Norte County and Crescent City and the amazing people that live here. That is my report.
Thank you, Supervisor Starkey. Good luck following that, Supervisor Starkey.
I can never follow. I can never follow that. In addition to the meetings that I attended with Supervisor Starkey, I also listened in on the city council meetings, attended the CSAC conference, and I might be stealing a little bit of your thunder here, Chris,
Please.
but one of the favorite things I attended was the agriculture and environment and natural resources meeting, where we listened to Jana Velikovic and Ken Pimlock, who Ken Pimlock is a retired leader of CAL FIRE, and they put on a presentation called "Shifting the Paradigm: Wildfire in the Modern Era," and it was very, very well done. I thought they both did an outstanding job of presenting the case in full circle. Some of the really outstanding or astounding stats was 1 out of every 8 acres in California burned in the last 10 years. That's 12 million acres. But half of that was burned in the last 2 years. 43,000 structures and 173 lives lost was just some pretty outstanding statistics for me. They really stood out. And the presentation looked at aspects and consequences of those fires that people don't normally think about. One was, you mentioned earlier, the closure of schools, which was pretty significant. Another one was the shortening of landfill life, moving the garbage and destruction from 43,000 structures to landfills, and how that affects roads as well, shortening road life. So I thought it was very, very well done presentation, and it really hit home. Assemblymember Jim Wood was there, and he spoke in response to the presentation. That was a great thing. Attended the Coastal Counties Caucus when we spoke about sea level rise. Humboldt and Del Norte County spoke to Catherine Freeman, who's a CSAC lobbyist, and was trying to convince her to take some regional approaches to coming legislation in regard to sea level rise, because that largely doesn't affect a good portion of Humboldt County and also all of Del Norte County. Land use and transportation meeting I went to, we heard that they are convening a workshop for emerging vehicle technologies, and that's going to result in probably a road use charge rather than a gasoline tax. So we may see some changes in the way we pay for our road maintenance in the future. We looked into the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, $1.2 trillion in 8 years, $27 billion in funding for bridges, $65 billion for broadband over 5 years. Some pretty significant things coming on the horizon there. In the rural caucus, we talked about our legislative priorities, which included COVID funding, behavioral health funding, housing, broadband, drought, organic waste funding, like Valerie just talked about, illegal marijuana, Brown Act modernization, some other things. We did have 2 outstanding speakers. The first was a man who was an orphan and grew up and was abused in the foster care system. His name was Steve Pemberton, and he spoke about the lighthouses in our lives. Those people who play a small part but have long-lasting and positive effects on our lives. And the second was another impressive speaker, Jose Hernandez, who is a Latino Californian who grew up working in the fields that I think he said sugar beets near Stockton. And he was focused on his educational journey and his ambition toward his and final success in becoming an astronaut. He was turned down 11 times and was tenacious, kept at it, and really told a great story there. In addition to that, I also attended the Transportation Commission meetings of the tri-agency, and and Valerie already touched on it about our reduction in public transit services that are coming as a result of loss of a few employees. So that is my report.
Okay, thank you very much. Supervisor Hemmingson.
Yes, thank you. I attended the last chance grade mitigation workshop, an update on last chance grade. And the update that I can give you, we may have two-way traffic sometime the first of next year since 2014. So for 7 years, we've been dealing with one-way traffic. We will still have to deal with one-way traffic around Hunter Creek, but last chance grade should be open to two-way traffic early next year sometime in the spring, I think. Had an RCRC executive meeting where we recommended adding Santa Barbara. They put in an application, so we recommended that to the full board. Along with that, had a GSFA meeting, which happens at the same time or within that meeting, we did some regional planning, talking about undergrounding power lines and biomass. I would like to congratulate Dr. Stutz on being recognized by CSAC for his efforts in dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. I did attend the Veterans Day Parade. I was interviewed by the Collective Good, as we just got the report out today, on their strategic planning for Department of Health and Human Services. Had a whale working group risk assessment call for Dungeness crab, as Assemblymember Wood mentioned crab, so we are crabbing. As Supervisor Starkey and also saw Supervisor Short there at the Crescent Elk Auditorium, new upgrade christening. Just what a great performance. I really like the percussion band. Like Supervisor Starkey said, we should have paid an admission to be there, because what a great effort that was put into that by Lisa and Nick Rail, who by the way was that I went to school with. He was a couple of years older, but we were in high school together. And all the community support that went along with that. What a great facility now. It's really turned out nice. Supervisor Howard and I met with Kathy Allen, who is our now district ranger. She's doing a detail now, so she's got a temporary position with the Forest Service on that district ranger job. Wish her luck on getting the permanent position. She has applied, but I'm sure there will be others also. Had a Zoom conference. I am a co-chair of the Coastal Counties Policy Committee for CSAC. And so we had a Zoom conference to get our strategies all in place for the upcoming CSAC meeting. I would like to congratulate the Del Mar High football team for their win against Miramonte High. And what a great season they had. So good for them. Had another RCRC executive meeting. That doesn't happen very often, that we have two executive meetings before our main session, but we had another, because our meeting ran so long, we had to hold off the closed session part of that meeting. So we had an RCRC closed session meeting. As Supervisor Starkey mentioned, had a meeting with Department of Wildlife, Fish and Wildlife staff, talking about a lot of the projects that we've had in the works for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years. The Point St. George parking lot, the stairs, Saxton's boat ramp. I mean, just all those things that we've been going over and over, and I can't seem to get any momentum on. And finally, I think they've got enough complaints. At least maybe we're going to get one thing taken care of, which is the parking lot. Possibly get something done there. But we've been talking with them about Pacific Shores. I mean, all the opportunities that they've got, and really haven't gotten much traction, although COVID has played a huge part in curtailing a lot of that stuff. I attended the Board of Supervisors special meeting. And I would like to, even though Darren, Supervisor Short, talked about the AENR meeting that Supervisor Howard is the chairman of, I got to tell you, that's the Agriculture, Environment, and Natural Resources Committee. Chair Howard did an absolute outstanding job in that presentation, assembling the crew that he had to do all that. Ken Pimlott and Jana Valakovic, as well as Assemblymember Wood, and putting that all together. It was standing room only. People were really upset that they couldn't get in to see that presentation, and all that information was there. And along with that, in that meeting, we got to hear from Blake Alexander, who did a little presentation on the future of green ag, as well as regenerative organic farming. Very interesting, all very interesting stuff and on point. And I gotta give it to Chairman Howard. He did just an absolutely fantastic job. So keep that up. Also, while I was at CSAC, I went to the Financial Corporation Innovation Summit, had opening session with outgoing President James Gore. Had the Coastal Counties meeting, as Supervisor Short mentioned. We're working on a phased-in approach dealing with the sea level rise. Had the workshop on broadband, which is, I mean, for the middle mile, which is going to be the first phase, and then the end mile, which is going to be the second part of that. $6 billion they're starting with. So, and that's going to be spent over the next 4 years. That's huge to spend that amount of money in that short a time. So we should be able to see some real accomplishments there. Then went on to the general session that was presided over by the incoming president, Ed Valenzuela from Siskiyou County. The bar is set pretty high after James Gore. James Gore was just phenomenal, and Ed, who is I hope will be is going to be very good also, and I hope he takes it to the next level. This two speakers that we heard at CSAC were unbelievable. I'm not going to go into it anymore. Darren's already took enough time up with that, but they were outstanding. Both of them were just absolutely great. I attended while still there at CSAC, attended the awards breakfast, the CSAC Rural Caucus, and the CSAC Policy Committee, Government Finance and Administration. Had the CSAC luncheon and election of officers. Again, really probably the best CSAC meeting that I've been to, and I think that's great for Supervisor Starkey and Supervisor Short to be able to see that level that you can set the bar. That bar's been set pretty high now, but that was probably one of the better CSAC meetings that I've been to. All in all, that was a great meeting. Had another whale working group call along with another risk assessment meeting. I did attend the Harbor District meeting where there's planning on codifying an ordinance and amending it, which I really wasn't too happy about the way they're doing it. So I went and spoke at that. There's another meeting on Thursday at 11, I think, 10 or 11, I can't remember. So I will be at that meeting also to speak again. Had a local transportation commission meeting. Had our second, I guess, resource advisory committee meeting as a 2-day affair, 4 hours each, and we used every bit of the 4 hours on both days. We allocated about $360,000, and two of those projects were the road division got two of their projects of about $100,000, so a pretty good amount of funds, which is well needed. So two out of the three projects they submitted were funded in full. Had an RCRC meeting, which is the representatives of California rural counties. We had a meeting in Merced, which we always have a meeting in the county of the chairman. And because Darren McDaniel was during COVID and we couldn't meet in Merced, we had that meeting this year in Merced. So it was pretty neat because the testing facilities for Waymo, which is autonomous vehicles, is in Merced, and so we got to visit that operation, and it's pretty neat. So it was neat to be able to see that and do that. That's at the Old Castle Air Force Base. We had that was really good. We also had our regular meeting, mostly dealing with financial and budget things towards the end of the year, like it is, and finished my term as being on the executive committee. It's a 2-year term, so I finished my 2 terms up, and we've now elected Rex Bone from Humboldt County to be our Region 1 representative. So look forward to working with Rex on that stuff. And that's about it for me. I would like to thank Supervisor Howard for filling in for me at the North Deal meeting, and that's it.
Thank you, Supervisor Hemmingson.
In a nutshell.
Yes, it was a nutshell.
All right.
Very good. Supervisor Berkowitz, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last month was my wonderful opportunity to be able to take one of my own vacations to travel to the Panama Canal. Fantastic. It's one of my bucket lists, and I was just thrilled to be able to have that. For the last month, however, I've had numerous calls from our local concerns about the increased price increases for our numerous costs. These price increases are devastating for those who are local, pronounced people for local incomes and who are looking to have the increase of everything that they own. The high cost of foods, costs from beef, fish, poultry, it's just absolutely staggering to hang up for people who are local, who are low income locals right here in Del Norte County. I believe that this is a meal cost that we need to begin to see what can be done. And we ought to put this to us as much as possible. And so that's what I want to concentrate on the next couple of weeks to see what we can do to be able to lower these costs locally. And that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor Berkowitz. All right, I'll try to keep it short, although it will be tough because, as you saw, the supervisors were very active since our last 2 meetings. And there's still a lot to report on, and we're all staying busy, and it's great to see. Had a meeting with John Roberts, who's chair of the Smith River Cemetery district out there, having some issues with vandalism and dumping. Also arranged a meeting with the Del Norte County Unified School District and a national nonprofit called No Child Hungry to see if there's any additional resources that could be brought to our community through this nonprofit program, especially in our outlying areas like Smith River and Klamath. There definitely are some ways that we can partner together with this organization that does bring essential resources, especially food, to our neediest of youth. Did a lot of pre-planning for the California State Association of Counties Agricultural Natural Resources meeting, as both Supervisor Hemmingson and Short spoke about. Met with Commander Larry Deepy, California Highway Patrol, on collision data here for our region, using that to leverage a lot of that data in the upcoming infrastructure bill associated with Del Norte County, and trying to get some additional focus on our highways, in particular Highway 101 at Last Chance Grade and north on some turn pocket work that Supervisor Hemmingson is giving a great deal of attention to. And then Highway 199, which will be coming back down the pipeline eventually when we're out of court, which I think we're in our 13th or 14th year now, still waiting for those essential fixes on some of the most outdated infrastructure here in the United States on our 199. Attended a North Coast Unified Air Quality Management District meeting. Also a report out from the Chamber of Commerce on the successes of the Going for Gold campaign, which this board contributed a great deal of resources to. And those resources, I'm glad to report, were not only well spent, but well received by people that saw them. The response to our community, I predict, for this next summer is going to be overwhelming with the amount of revenue gained. Attended as Supervisor Short and Starkey spoke about, which was the Tri-Agency Economic Development meeting. I'm glad there's some deep dives going in onto this EDC piece and separating out EDC from Tri-Agency, which is critically important because as we've seen with our public, there are some confusion there. And we need to be front and center on helping the public to understand what took place there, especially on the EDC side, which is the one that is under investigation. Had a meeting with the Council General of Japan and also a meeting of the Kamomi Foundation, where we're looking to build resources to help fund student exchange to our sister city of Rikazantaka, Japan. As Supervisor Hemmingson mentioned, also had a meeting with Kathy Allen, our new district ranger. Hopefully that'll become permanent someday. And then also a meeting of the Del Norte Senior Center. Had a meeting on some issues associated with our jail, and then also a natural resource goals committee meeting with Supervisor Hemmingson, where we discussed some ongoing issues, and also a meeting of the Del Norte Local Transportation Commission, which Supervisor Short touched on. Conducted annual agenda review, and then also had some constituent calls, which I passed along to Supervisor Berkowitz, with some concerns with the Klamath Ball Field. As you recall, this board did donate a field down there to the Yurok tribe. But there was concerns by this constituent that this ball field's now being turned into not a ball field for the youth of that community, but rather for a trailer park. So I do want to explore that a little further, and I'm hoping Supervisor Berkowitz will take the lead on that. Also working on some of the issues with cell phone coverage. I don't know if folks have noticed, but there are some just ridiculous pockets of zero coverage in this county where there shouldn't be pockets of no coverage. So working with a company that helped pave the way for some of this closure of these pockets on 199 for us last year. One of the areas they're focused in on right now is over in the Birch Ocean View area, which one of our constituents had brought to our attention not too long ago. As Supervisor Hemmingson mentioned, the North Deal meeting, which I attended on his behalf. And thank you, Jerry, for really continuing to push forward on those turn pocket issues on Highway 101. And then also on getting this, I know it's a brief closure this week on 199, but getting those hazard trees removed, that's a super big deal. So I really appreciate you working towards that. Hoping this Lake Earl issue and conflicts between hunting and weed pulling, we will take up as a discussion soon, hoping for some advice and some clarity on that from our Del Norte County Fish and Game Commission. It doesn't seem to be right that we're having some conflict on basically some uses at Lake Earl that can be done all year round when the hunting season is so limited there. So glad to hear from Randy Waltz over there at our Sheriff's Department that he is seeing some changes, but more importantly, the effects of Measure R in helping to retain staff. I'm hoping that with that vote that the citizens here in Del Norte County made and the allocation that this board made here this year, that those effects on our public safety, which were so desperately needed, do help, especially with retaining those critical staffing needs, because I know crime is affecting us all right now, and making sure that the Sheriff's Department has the resources they need to respond to those calls is so critically important to this. I do want to send out a note. I'll do this through Kylie sometime soon. There will be an exhibition for our sister city on December 19th at 5 o'clock. We finally have 4 pallets of Seaquick Kamome ale and a pallet of Kamome dry jack cheese that has made its way to China. Thank you to both Seaquick and Rumiana Cheese for helping to continue this piece of our relationship. The exhibition will be a celebration in Rikazantaka on for both communities. It's intended to highlight the business aspects of this relationship. We have a lot of high-profile U.S. Embassy and Foreign Agricultural Service folks in attendance, and I would love to see a great participation from Del Norte County and Crescent City there. And as soon as I have a Zoom link, I'll be sending that out to the board and all those that might be interested. I will touch briefly on the CSAC coverage that Supervisor Short, Supervisor Starkey, and Supervisor Hemmingson spoke on. And I'll just, I did attend so many meetings there, but it was a great honor for me to chair the California State Association's Agriculture, Environment, and Natural Resources Committee. I really wanted to put the A back into agriculture for this committee. Agriculture's been kind of sidelined for the past 8 years, specifically by fire within this committee meeting. And I couldn't unfortunately avoid having a conversation about fire. So I assembled some of the best folks in the state to discuss this. And as Supervisor Short alluded to, fire affects us all in more ways than we think, whether it's the closure of our schools, whether it's the destruction of our roads from the countless hundreds of trucks that are taking debris waste to landfills and filling them up, to the health impacts of smoke that literally affected the entire state for the previous 2 years. We're all impacted by fire. And more recently here in Delaware County, specifically the impacts on our insurance rates are going to be incredibly high. We're already seeing those impacts in District 3, and I'm sure Bob's seeing it down there in his district on those rates going up. And our negligence, and I'm going to call it that, in forest management over the last several years, and this paradigm shift that was spoken to by our speakers really needs to be hammered home hard. And so when I have an opportunity as an appointee by this county, when I have an opportunity as an appointee by James Gore to this committee, I take the opportunity not lightly, because it is my opportunity for this board to put Delaware County issues first as it relates to agriculture and natural resources and the environment. And fire is a hugely important issue to us, but allows me to put center stage to the 58 other counties in the state, policy type issues that are going to craft our next legislative agenda. And as you heard from the folks, it was well received, standing room only. And at our board of directors meeting on closing that Thursday, we saw the suburban caucus, we saw the urban caucus and the rural caucus really come together with the idea that we're going to really try to push policy this year in the state legislature that is going to address some of these outstanding issues, not only just committing resources, which are difficult to commit, but the state is committing, but shifting those resources from fighting the fire to actually preventing the damn thing and getting some of this fuel load out of our force. So we're having that conversation today. I hope to continue to lead this group, but I probably will be unseated. We'll see what Supervisor Valenzuela, our new president, does, but it's going to be a lift. But I really appreciate the discussion today from our board and recognition that we all put a lot of time and effort to swaying the opinion of not only Delaware County and our state legislature, but all the counties that impact this conversation statewide. And Supervisor?
Are you done?
No, but go,
Yeah,
please, go ahead.
No, this is off topic. So.
Okay. I will, I just want to end by saying this is my 7th year, December, my 7th year on this board. I know Jerry and I have served together a tremendous amount of time, Bob, lengthy also. Having both Supervisor Starkey and Supervisor Short here at this dais this year has been one of the most pleasant experiences to chair since I've been on this board. And I really appreciate our ability to debate and still disagree, but walk away from this dais with a respect for each other. And it's not unnoticed to me. And I just wanted to say thank you for a wonderful year as chair. And I look forward to serving with you both next year and being part of a dialogue that helps to move this community forward. So thank you. Supervisor Hemmingson.
Yeah, and I probably should have said this earlier when we did the proclamation, but the disparaging remarks that were made to the Highway Patrol, I just feel that I had to comment on. There is no more stalwart organization or entity in this community than the Highway Patrol. They will come at the drop of a hat for any support for any of our other law enforcement, whether that's the city, the county, fish and wildlife, parks, whatever it is, they are there and they support this community 100%. And I just don't think the remarks were accurate. And I just thought I should bring that to the attention. I know it's late in the meeting and nobody's going to hear it but us, but I just felt like I had to say it. I should have said it. I should have said it earlier when the proclamation was made, but felt that we needed to move on. And so I just wanted to say that. Thank you, Highway Patrol. Appreciate it.
Well said, Supervisor Hemmingson. And with that, we're adjourned.